Welcome, listeners, to another My Mind MashUps deep dive, where we unravel mysteries, spark curiosity, and make sense of complex ideas together.
And we have a truly mind-bending stack of research to get through today.
We really do. I want you to think about the last time you downloaded a completely unfamiliar new app on your phone. You open it up for the very first time, and within, maybe a fraction of a second, your brain has already made a definitive ruling.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost instant.
Right. You look at the color scheme, maybe a slightly clunky font on the login screen, and instantly you decide if it looks like a premium secure piece of software, or if it's, super sketchy and you're going to delete it immediately.
Yeah, you definitely don't read the terms of service.
Exactly. You don't read the code. It's an instant unconscious sorting mechanism. We do that with software on our phones without a second thought. But today, looking through the massive stack of sources you send over, we're looking at how we do the exact same thing with human beings.
It's the exact same hardware running the exact same kind of rapid scan.
Our mission for this deep dive is to explore the cutting-edge science and social psychology of first impressions. We are unpacking your stack of sources to explain exactly how we size each other up, why our biological hardware forces us to do it, and where we get it completely, sometimes hilariously, wrong. Okay, let's unpack this, but before we jump into the deep end, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy content that makes you think.
What's fascinating here is just how incredibly fast this biological reflex actually is. We often like to comfort ourselves by believing that we are highly rational, observant creatures.
We really do. We think we take our time to carefully evaluate someone's character over a cup of coffee.
Right, but the research fundamentally shatters that illusion. If we look at the 2006 Willis and Todorov study from our stack, it demonstrates that we form judgments on a stranger's likability, their trustworthiness, and their competence in just 100 milliseconds.
Wait, 1/10 of a second?
1/10 of a second. To put that in perspective, an average human eye blink takes about 300 milliseconds. So in literally 1/3 of the time it takes you to blink, your brain has already drafted a comprehensive personality profile of the person standing in front of you.
That genuinely defies logic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't possibly process enough visual data, the shape of their eyes, their posture, their expression, in that microscopic window of time to make an accurate assessment.
Consciously, no, you absolutely can't. If I asked you to describe the person's nose after 100 milliseconds, you would fail. But subconsciously, your brain is functioning in absolute overdrive.
It's just running in the background.
Exactly. And we actually have the fMRI brain imaging to prove it. These scans monitor blood flow in the brain, and they show that the amygdala, which is essentially the brain's primitive emotional processing and threat detection center, reacts to the trustworthiness of a face even when that face is flashed on screen so quickly the viewer isn't consciously aware they even saw it.
Wait, so they're flashing faces subliminally, like faster than conscious thought?
Yeah, precisely. The participant in the fMRI machine will literally say out loud, "I didn't see anything on the screen." But their amygdala is already lighting up, rapidly firing off signals about whether the person they didn't even know they saw is safe or dangerous.
Wow. So if our brain is doing this entirely automatically behind the scenes, is it basically running a biological spam filter?
That is the perfect analogy.
Because when my email spam filter works, it's looking for very specific red flags keywords like free money or weird misspelled links. What exactly is the human brain's version of a suspicious link in that first 100 milliseconds?
Yeah.
What is it scanning for?
The human spam filter is basically an evolutionary software program designed over millions of years for sheer survival. When you meet someone, that software is primarily asking two fundamental questions.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first pillar is trustworthiness. This essentially asks, what are this person's intentions toward me? Are they a friend or are they a foe? And the second pillar is dominance, which asks, are they capable of acting on those intentions? Do they have the physical power, the status, or the strength to actually help me or hurt me?
It's pure prehistoric survival of the fittest. We're operating like we're still in the ancient savannah, trying to figure out if the stranger approaching our campfire is going to share their hunted food or try to attack us.
Exactly.
But how do we physically measure intent and capability just by glancing at a modern human in a coffee shop?
We look for specific physical, biological cues that our ancestors relied on. For trustworthiness, the brain is scanning for pro-social intent. It infers this from facial structures that naturally resemble positive emotional expressions.
Like what, specifically?
For instance, a person who has a resting face with a slight, natural, upward turn at the corners of the mouth, mimicking the mechanics of a smile, is universally instantly judged as more trustworthy. Now, for dominance, the brain scans for raw physical capability. It's looking for things like a high facial width-to-height ratio.
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
Facial width to height ratio.
It's the literal measurement of how wide a face is compared to how tall it is. Evolutionarily, a wider face with a prominent square jawline and heavy brow ridge is biologically linked to higher levels of testosterone during puberty.
Oh, which signals bone density and physical strength.
Right. So your brain sees a wide jaw and instantly flags that person as dominant.
But wait, this is where I see us running into a major problem.
Yeah.
The sources you sent over highlight this massive issue called the competence trap.
Yes, the competence trap is huge.
Because if our brains are just looking for a strong jawline and automatically labeling it dominance, we end up mistaking sheer physical attractiveness or a wide face for actual intellectual competence. We see this heavily documented in the workplace hiring studies in our stack.
Oh, it happens all the time in hiring.
A hiring manager interviews someone, sees that strong jaw, and thinks, now that looks like a CEO. We hire the person who looks the part, assuming they are great at their job, when really our ancient survival software is just admiring their facial bone structure.
Exactly. We conflate physical dominance with modern professional capability. And to make matters worse, this initial error is stubbornly reinforced by what researchers call the lock-in effect.
How does that work?
Well, logically, you would think that if you spend an hour in an interview with that person, you would gather enough data to correct the initial 100-millisecond snap judgment. But the data shows that more time looking at someone doesn't significantly change our initial impression. It mostly just increases our confidence in that impression.
So we basically just start cherry-picking data to prove our gut reaction was right all along.
Precisely. It's confirmation bias acting in real time. If you decided in 1/10 of a second that they were competent, you will interpret their mild arrogance as strong leadership. Certainty grows much, much faster than accuracy.
But I want to push back on this a little, because we don't just stare at people in total silence like statues. That 100-millisecond visual judgment is just the opening act.
Sure, it's just the baseline.
Yeah. I'd imagine that voice and movement carry immense weight, right?
Right.
Because a predator can hide in the bushes, but the moment a twig snaps or they lunge at you, their intent is undeniable. Does this rapid-fire rule still apply when we start adding audio and motion into the mix? And by the way, if this is resonating, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive. But seriously, what happens the moment the person actually opens their mouth?
Your logic is spot on. Evolution built a multisensory backup system, but the rapid judgment absolutely still applies to it. There's a 2014 study by McAleer on vocal impressions that is totally mind-blowing in this regard.
Oh, I read that one. The Hello study.
Yes. They found that listeners reach a highly consistent consensus on someone's entire personality based on hearing a single, isolated word, just the word hello.
Just hello, one word, and we think we know their character.
Just hello. And the mechanics of how we judge that single spoken word map perfectly back to those two survival pillars we discussed, trust and dominance.
So how does pitch affect that?
Well, a higher pitched voice with a slight upward inflection is overwhelmingly perceived as more trustworthy. It signals openness, vulnerability, and non-threat. Conversely, a lower-pitched, flat, monotonic voice is immediately judged as more dominant.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, and subsequent research by Levan in 2023 adds a fascinating layer to this. We extract physical characteristics from voices like guessing someone's body size or their age almost instantaneously. Almost instantly. The more abstract trait judgments, like exactly how trustworthy they are, take slightly longer to build, but we're still talking about incredibly brief, subconscious exposure windows.
Okay, so we're visually scanning their face for a resting smile. We're deeply analyzing the pitch and inflection of their first hello.
Right.
What about the way they physically move through space?
Movement is critical data. Scientists refer to it as biological motion. Just by watching the specific rhythm, cadence, and sway of how someone walks across a room, we extract a massive amount of demographic data.
Really? Without even seeing their face?
Without seeing their face. We can accurately guess their age, their biological sex, and even their underlying emotional state. We can instinctively tell if someone is walking with a sad, heavy, dragging rhythm versus an energetic, happy, bouncy cadence.
Okay, I have to admit something. I am totally guilty of reading those airport big store paperbacks about body language.
Oh no, the pop psychology ones.
You know the ones. They claim that if someone is crossing their arms, it means they are secretly a defensive liar, or if their feet are pointing toward the door, they subconsciously hate you. Is any of that secret decoder ring stuff actually real, or is my brain just finding patterns that aren't there?
Your brain is definitely looking for patterns that aren't there. It is emphatically not that pop psychology stuff. And in fact, a comprehensive 2023 review by Patterson completely busts the myth of reading body language.
But crossing your arms doesn't mean you're a liar.
No, it might just mean you're cold. The popular claims that you can decode exact specific thoughts or that there are dependable physical tells for deception are vastly oversimplified and lack any real empirical backing.
So what are we actually getting from movement?
We're getting broad emotional and demographic strokes like this person is energetic or this person is fatigued, not a secret dictionary of hidden thoughts.
That makes so much sense. We overcomplicate it.
We do. And the exact same logic applies to clothing. Popular culture loves to claim things like wearing a red tie means you're signaling aggressive power.
The classic power tie.
Right, but the robust psychological finding is much simpler. Clothing merely acts as a rapid proxy for status and hierarchy. We use a suit or a uniform to figure out where someone fits in the social pecking order, not to decode a secret color language.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we are taking in all this visual data about jawlines, we're analyzing vocal pitch, we're calculating walking rhythm, and we're assessing clothing status all at exactly the same time, our brains are executing a massive multisensory mashup in a matter of milliseconds.
It's an unbelievable amount of data processing.
Right. So to process all that data so efficiently, our brains must be taking massive cognitive shortcuts. Where does this incredible efficiency become a liability for the listener?
If we connect this multisensory processing to the bigger picture, this is precisely where the brain's efficiency becomes its greatest liability. Those cognitive shortcuts lead to profound, deeply ingrained biases.
With the halo effect, right?
Exactly. One of the most thoroughly documented biases is the halo effect, highlighted in the research by Talamus and colleagues. It occurs when we perceive one highly positive cue, most commonly, physical attractiveness.
Okay.
Now, the brain craves cognitive consistency. It wants everything to neatly align. So to maintain that consistency, our subconscious actively fills in other positive traits. If someone is physically beautiful, our brain automatically assumes they must also be highly intelligent, incredibly kind, and exceedingly competent.
Even though a symmetrical face has absolutely zero biological correlation to how good you are at advanced calculus, it's like a ripple effect of unearned credit.
Exactly. The beauty creates a halo that bathes all their other traits in a positive light. But there is a much darker, more problematic, shortcut stereotype contamination.
I saw that in the Sutherland and Young research.
Yeah, they explore how social category cues, like a person's race, their age, or their gender activate what psychologists call response competition.
Response competition. Walk me through how that works.
Essentially, your brain is fighting a battle between the actual individual person standing in front of you and the deeply ingrained cultural stereotypes your brain has absorbed over a lifetime.
Oh, wow. So it's a literal tug-of-war in your head.
It is. When we see demographic cues, our brain pulls our individual judgments toward those pre-existing cultural norms and schemas because it's faster than evaluating the individual from scratch.
Because the brain loves a shortcut.
Right. It's an automatic, incredibly fast process that requires active, conscious, deliberate effort to override. So, unfortunately, our judgments of trustworthiness or dominance are heavily skewed by systemic cultural biases before the person even has a chance to open their mouth and prove who they really are.
And now, think about how we have to apply all of this ancient biological software to the modern digital era. We aren't just meeting people around a campfire on the prehistoric savannah anymore. We're meeting them on LinkedIn profiles and on Zoom calls.
Which is a totally different environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do these ancient savannah-optimized shortcuts translate to glowing screens?
They translate terribly because in the digital space, we are judging artificial proxies, not actual people. Take the profile picture, for example. In real life, you see a dynamic, moving, breathing face with context. Online, you see a static, highly curated image.
Which introduces something called selection bias.
Right. Yes. You aren't just judging the physical features of the face anymore. You are subconsciously judging the person's judgment in selecting that specific photo. Why did they choose that weird high angle? Why are they wearing sunglasses in a professional headshot?
Right. You're judging their decision-making, not just their face. And then you finally get them on a live video call. Let's say you're interviewing someone for a job. They have a terrible internet connection.
We've all been there.
The audio is delayed by just a fraction of a second. The video gets pixelated every time they move. By the end of the call, you're absolutely exhausted, and you find yourself thinking, I just don't trust that candidate. They seemed evasive. But it wasn't them, it was just their Wi-Fi.
That is a brilliant example, and it is entirely backed by the data. That exhaustion is tied directly to impression formation. That lack of synchrony, the micro delays in audio, and the inability to make true, perfectly timed eye contact creates what researchers call vague negative impressions.
Vague negative impressions.
Yeah. Your primitive brain registers the audio delay and interprets it as hesitation. It interprets hesitation as a lack of trustworthiness or a lack of competence. You walk away from the call feeling like the person was shady or awkward, when in reality, your survival software was just misinterpreting the technical lag.
We're basically blaming a human being's character for a bad router.
Precisely. Not to mention the backgrounds. Studies consistently show that something as simple as a messy room or an unmade bed in the background of a video call heavily and negatively biases our judgments of that person's professional competence. We bleed the context of their environment into their personality.
Okay, this is slightly terrifying. We're making snap judgments in a tenth of a second based on jawlines. We are stereotyping people based on cognitive shortcuts. We are blaming their integrity for their internet connection, and we are locking into these opinions with completely unearned certainty.
It sounds bleak when you put it that way.
Yeah. If our priors are this strong and sticky, are we just doomed if we make a bad first impression on a Zoom call or at a party? And by the way, listeners, like, comment, and subscribe to hear more of my Mind Mashups deep dives. But seriously, I need some hope here. Are these digital and physical judgments permanent?
This raises an important question, and it's the crux of social psychology. Do we have the power to change minds? The good news is no, we are not doomed. First impressions are undeniably sticky, but they do update. The brain updates information in a Bayesian-like manner.
Okay, I need to explain, like, I'm 5 for Bayesian updating. What does that mean for you and me?
Think of it like a mathematical formula for your beliefs. It means we start with a prior belief, which is our initial 100 millisecond snap judgment. As new information comes in, we mathematically adjust that belief up or down.
Give me an example.
Let's say you have a coworker who you instantly judged as cold and arrogant because they have a flat voice and a very neutral, wide face. That's your prior belief. But then you see them spend an hour patiently helping an intern fix a mistake, and later you see them rescue a stray dog outside the office.
Okay, that's pretty strong evidence to the contrary.
Right. That new evidence is so strong that your brain is forced to adjust the formula and shift its belief. However, there is a catch to this updating process.
There's always a catch. What is it?
It's called moral asymmetry, which is driven by our evolutionary negativity bias. Evolutionarily, ignoring a threat, a negative trait in a person, gets you killed. But ignoring a potential friend, a good trait, just means you miss out on a favor.
So bad impressions weigh more.
Because of this, bad impressions carry far more weight. If you make a bad first impression regarding your moral character, it takes many, many consistent good deeds over a long period of time to slowly drag that impression back to neutral.
But what if you make a good first impression?
If you make a stellar first impression, it is highly fragile. It only takes one bad deed, one significant lie, to completely shatter a good impression.
So bad impressions are incredibly heavy to lift, and good impressions are fragile to drop. Is there any shortcut to fixing a bad impression without spending 6 months rescuing stray dogs?
Yes, there is a powerful tool called contextual overwriting. We update our impressions much, much faster if we see the person in a radically different environment.
Oh, like a context shift.
Exactly. If you think your boss is coldly dominant and terrifying in the boardroom, seeing them at a weekend park playing gently with a puppy on the grass provides a jarring context shift. It forces the brain to abandon its old formula and rapidly rewrite its model of that person from scratch.
Which really just proves that our initial 100 millisecond models are often completely, wildly wrong.
They absolutely are. And the most recent science confirms this beautifully. A massive 2024 study by Jaeger from your sources looked at this exact issue. They found that face-based personality impressions are, across the board, highly inaccurate. We cannot accurately read character from bone structure.
We're just making it up.
Worse than that, we vastly overestimate our meta-accuracy. We walk around through life confidently thinking we are excellent, intuitive judges of character based on someone's face, when the data shows we are basically just flipping a coin.
You know, that is actually a massive relief. Because if we are terrible at judging other people's personalities from their faces, it logically means they're terrible at judging ours.
That's a great way to look at it.
Which brings me to the ultimate piece of relief from the sources you provided today, the liking gap. Research from Boothby and colleagues looked at what happens immediately after two strangers have their very first conversation. They found that people systematically, universally underestimate how much the other person liked them.
We all do it. We walk away from a party or a networking event agonizing over every tiny stutter, every awkward pause, utterly convinced the other person thought we were incompetent or boring.
I do that literally every time I leave a social event.
Same. But the data unequivocally shows they were actually forming a much more positive, forgiving impression than our internal anxiety allows us to believe. We are our own harshest critics, while our conversational partners are usually just happy to be talking to someone friendly.
So we've journeyed from the 100 millisecond fMRI brain scans showing our amygdalas silently judging strangers to the realization that we are all walking around incorrectly, assuming nobody likes us. Let's synthesize some practical takeaways from all of this for the listener.
That sounds like a good plan.
First, you have to actively, consciously pause your snap judgments. Since we know the 100 millisecond lock-in effect is real, you need to consciously force your brain to wait. Seek 20 to 60 seconds of real dynamic exposure before you decide who someone is.
Right, give them a chance to actually speak.
Second, counter the halo effect by actively evaluating traits separately. If someone is incredibly attractive, consciously force yourself to ask, wait, do I actually have evidence that they are smart, or am I just being blinded by the halo? Third, check your trust meter.
The trust meter is key.
If you instantly dislike someone, ask yourself if you're reacting to their actual character or if you're just reacting to a prominent jawline or a weird video call lag that tripped your ancient evolutionary spam filter. And finally, give yourself a break. The liking gap is real. People are judging you far less harshly than you are judging yourself.
Those are crucial practical steps for navigating a modern world built on incredibly rapid, flawed judgments. And it leaves us with a deeper, more philosophical consideration based on everything we've explored in these sources today.
What's that?
When we meet someone for the very first time, do we ever actually meet the real person? Or are we only interacting with a rapid-fire draft assembled by our own survival instincts?
So what does this all mean? It means the next time you meet someone new, remember that your brain is acting like you're downloading a new app, making a harsh snap judgment on the interface in a fraction of a second. But human beings aren't software. Take a breath, wait for the actual content to truly load, and give them time before you decide to delete. Find my MashUps everywhere you listen: Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective could shape our next deep dive.